I know I previously said I would slow down on new models, especially due to financial and space reasons. But this time, I couldn't help myself. Welcome to Porterverse Workbench. Today we will be spotlighting Bill and Ben. Here is how I made them. Bill and Ben were made using the Rapido Porterverse Bagnall twins. These two are without a doubt the smallest 00 models I own. They are really tiny, and they run really well too. It is so weird seeing this in person, it's crazy. I intentionally strayed from using the yellow variant of the models already available on the market. This is what a lot of people use for their Build-A models, and it's understandable as to why. All I gotta do is rub off the lettering, stick on faces, and maybe even nameplates. Hell, even some lettering if you really want to. And you already have Bill and Ben. But I wanted to do something different for my interpretation of these two. I honestly find the shade of yellow for these Ready to Run models too yellowy for me, if you know what I mean. I personally like Bill and Ben a more ochre / orangey kind of color. A little bit on the warmer side, you know. I initially wanted to use two Alfreds as opposed to Alfred and Judy 2-pack, as Alfred's saddle tank is smooth with no riveting. But they were out of stock at the time, so I settled for the green 2-pack with Alfred and Judy. This was very expensive to import. My wallet is still hurting after this. All that aside though, these models are great, I love them. I decided to do it differently from my other twin models, where before I would work on them side by side at the exact same time. I decided with Bill and Ben, I would just start one, fully complete it, and then start the next one afterwards. So I first started with Judy, as I knew I would mess up more and more, this is my first time with the model, and then I would eventually perfect it with Alfred. The cab and saddle tank are separate pieces, which made painting very easy. I was able to pop them off without much hassle. I gotta say, these screws holding the cab and the chassis block are some of the tiniest screws I've ever seen. I had to use a piece of double-sided tape to hold them in place. If these rolled off my desk, they will end up in the back rooms. My next discovery for the saddle tank is entirely plastic. The riveting is just relief detail, so I was able to sand it off. After sanding off all the old paint, riveting, and all that other stuff, I painted the saddle tank and parts of the cab in pink. This was a step I was unknowingly skipping when painting other yellow models. A pink undercoat helps yellow paint show up better and more vibrant. Helps even it out and makes it look better, you know. As yellow paints are very hard to paint evenly, especially if you want to minimize coats. I eventually saw videos explaining this process and I figured I'd try it. This is the first time I've ever tried this on a model and oh my god, it works so well. It only took a few coats of paint before it looked really good. The pink was applied using a pink oil-based paint pen by Sharpie, and the yellow shade of paint I used was Appleberry's King's Gold, just brushed on in thin coats. While the paint was drying, I shifted my focus to the wheels. Did I ever tell you how much I hate valve gears and painting wheels? These were so fiddly. It wasn't exactly hard painting them, it was putting them back. Oh man, that was so difficult. Whenever the gears lined up, the cross-sets will come out of the pistons. Whenever the side rods evened out, the wheel pickups were in the wrong places, as it has these little box things on this wheels. It's so weird. It took me about an hour to get everything back into place, just putting it back in. The wheels and side rods were painted using oil-based paint pens. After this, I gave myself a little wind to feel better and painted the buffer silver. I like to think that Ben kept these silver buffers from the Season 6 episode, Buffer Bother, and the housings for them were black like this. Just another way to make the twins distinguishable from each other. And Ben would have the silver buffers among some other small detail changes. Following that was the lining. I only lined out the saddle tank to give the twins a more industrial feel. Like engines, I would just have just a basic paint and no lining, really akin to other various industrial engines out there. One day I might add the Soto China clay lettering, but I'm still on the fence regarding that. Once all the paint was dry, I brushed the saddle tank and cab with matte finish Mod Podge. This stuff is water based and can be diluted as needed, which I highly recommend you do if you intend on using this for model trains. It helps the brush strokes even out better, and this looks better as well. It dries a lot slower so you have more time to work with it. It's just better to dilute it in general, you know. And then I refitted all these small details, like the handrails, the water cap, and the whistle. Oh yeah, Ben's whistle, while I was trying to push it back into place, this tiny little piece about the size of a half grain of rice, it then flung out of sight and I never saw it again. It was lost. Ben's whistle is 100% in the back rooms right now. I could not find it no matter where I looked. It was gone. I sought out an alternative and rummaged through my parts until I found my old 2P shelf from my old Edward model. It still had the whistle, so I just used a 2P whistle and glued it in. I actually like it a lot more than the other one, not gonna lie. It's another way to distinguish Bill from Ben, and the other way around. And once everything was reassembled and screwed back into place, Ben was done. I think that was it. Oh no. I did the whole thing over again for Bill. Bill was way easier than Ben, mostly because I already had a feel for the model doing the whole process for Ben. The process itself was almost identical to Ben. A disassembly of the model, sanding down the old paint, pink undercoat, and then yellow brushed on. I did not take the wheels out of the chassis this time. I learned my lesson. I was not doing that again. I instead used a red paint pen, the same for bed side rods, to paint the wheels red. This worked surprisingly well, although it took a while to dry. And this method was way easier in my opinion, especially compared to the bullshit I was doing before. After that, I applied the lining to the saddle tank. I also painted the buffer housings red to match the buffer beams. This was done with the undercoat of the paint pen and then apple barrels bright red on top of that. I kept the whistle in place so I would not lose it, as fitting these tiny details, like everything was so hard to put back in. Next time I do a model like this, I might just keep all this stuff intact and just paint over it again. Like I repainted the whistle. Anyways, after a bunch of cleanup work, clear coating, and a reassembly, Bill was done as well. In total, it took me about 2 weeks on and off work to get him done, but it was still pretty fun. For those confused by which one is which, Bill has the black buffers, original whistle, silver rods, and the red wheels. While Ben has the silver buffers with the black housing, red rods, black wheels, and a unique whistle. Despite the difficulties, I really love these models. They are easily some of my favorites. And they really pop as well with their unique color. This is the first time I'm painting an engine in this Albemarle King's Gold, and I really like it. Nice. Now, there's one thing I'm sure you all noticed is missing. Yep, the megaphones. Most of my Porterverse models have megaphones fitted in their cab windows. A lot of people have always asked me why I do this, and this is because it's a nod to tugs, as in that series, a lot of the vehicles, including trains, were faceless and talked through these megaphones in their cab windows. I initially did this as a workaround for faces, as I do not have space to keep 8 million faces for each model, let alone little ping pong, tiny little BB pellet eyeballs, whatever people use. They honestly would look really weird in Bill and Ben, and I'm honestly just tired of them. And so I've decided to phase them out of my models. And they'll eventually be removed from my older models soon. Whenever I start filming Porter tunes, they'll have faces. So yeah, the megaphones are no more. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse Workbench, and I will see you all same time next week.